Okay. How's it going, Nice Juice? Grandmaster Diaz, how's it going? What are you guys up to today? Anything crazy? I would imagine for most people it's Wednesday, so it's just chilling for most, just kind of hanging out. I forgot I gotta upload my 100 Years Quest review in a minute too. I meant to upload it earlier this morning, but it like had a my video editor crashed halfway through, so I had to re-render it. So the next time I was going to be able to do it was when I got home, so I gotta remember to put that up right now. I'll just set it to load, and then I'll put in all the details and editing, not editing shit, but like tags and shit, and all that, and the thumbnail and whatnot. I'll just do that as the stream goes. What's up, Easy Toga Trash? I read the news chapter. It was pretty cool, not spoiling. It was pretty hype. My only thing is like I'm just hoping Dogramag isn't defeated, because as long as this last fight ends pretty well, I think this arc overall was pretty good. Even with the unfortunate, like I really do wish that we saw some of Misaki, something to see the follow up what's going on. If Mishima does have them planned, stuff like further stuff with all them later with Fairy Tail and Diablos forming hopeful some form of alliance, some form of kind of camaraderie between them, then I'm hoping we see something with them. Like, I just don't want Misaki's character to be like she was just a mean villain chick lost, and then like she's like the Orga of the group. She just stands in the back. I don't want that to happen. I'm hoping not. And then obviously Scoleon, I really want to have a Scoleon and Gray around too, or at least some form of of rematch. It doesn't have to be a full fight. Like if it's set up to say well, I don't want Scoleon to be foddered. As long as Scoleon got to have a good fight, like say if Gray got some form of power up increase, like some like maybe Gold Owl comes to play alchemy stuff, Gray gets better and more powerful ice make, whatever the reason, and then he fights Scoleon, and it's I'm trying to think of a good example fight. Maybe kind of like not like the same style as like Natsu versus Guildarts, but where it's like Scoleon would be like going through each level, throwing the full pretty much moveset at Gray. You're seeing everything, and it's Gray just being surprised how powerful he is or something. If we get something like that, because I'm like, I just would want him to obviously like Scoleon to get justice, and it'd be weird for his character not to be shown thoroughly if the two guilds are going to be allies. Like there's a lot of upcoming questions I have with that setup, because I think that I don't think it'll make sense if Diablos just kind of fucks off. I don't think that's gonna happen, because they're in a whole situation. One, their guilds are already in the quest, so there's no reason that they would just kind of like be like, yeah, we don't know about this anymore. Because also Celine's our guild master. Because like, why would Celine not want to continue the whole situation with Ignia and whatever Viernes is going to be, and if we ever get to this White Wizard and Rebellious. I almost said like White Wizard, and I was like, what the fuck? What is going on with pronunciation right now? But like, there's still stuff on the horizon, but I think that there should be like, I would really like some downtime, but it be some constructive downtime. I don't want it just to be like funny chapters or just like kind of just like a long info dump. I would love to have a short period of time where it's like not not like fights, but more of kind of like training skirmishes, where it's like a good example was it's like what was it? I think it was Seven Deadly Sins when they went and talked to the druids. They all had their own kind of like little matchups for the most part, but something like that where it's just like they're not going to be a serious thing, but maybe we could like imagine it's like, okay, well, we have more fight focused ones for the characters we already know some stuff about, and then like we can kind of make it like a half fight chapter, like mix of like a fight chapter and then finding out about whichever Diablos members we don't really know too well, and kind of do stuff like that. Because I do want there to be a point where we have like a sit down kind of time just to have the two parties between Fairy Tail and Diablos just chat and kind of like hash out the situation and really kind of get things cleared out so they can be fine with each other, and then we can kind of get into something cool. Like I don't expect it to be a long training arc, is what I'm saying. Like I would really like it to be a bunch of skirmishes or it's like, imagine like somewhere between like 3 to to 5, maybe like a whole volume. Let's just say like most of a volume. Actually, how about better this? It's like a whole volume is stuff like kind of, you know, some fun stuff with Diablos, skirmish fights, and then some stuff building up into the next arc, whether Diablos is going to continue, or if they're going to, if Selene has something she has to do, or if they have to kind of split, or what you know, whatever happens between them. But a point where we have, you know, fights where it's like, oh yeah, each character is gonna get like a chapter and like a chunk, but it's gonna be, I don't know. I'm trying to see like what we'd really kind of need, because we don't need every character, I think, to have a fight. I think anybody who had like a really big major fight this arc doesn't need one in that skirmish thing. I think Natsu would need one because he's the main character, and I think he needs a good training point, especially like I think good dynamic between him and Suzaku. Pick up where their fight left off. I think that is a for sure. And then I think just knowing skirmish between Laxus and Kieran. Maybe just like showing just kind of some cool moves. We don't need to see the full fight. Because it's like we don't need to know a ton more backstory from Kieran in terms of a fight. We don't need a lot of from Laxus in terms of like of a fight. It could just be kind of like how Jura versus Laxus was, but a little bit spread more over a couple chapters. So it's just like we just see like a lot of cool panels and moments in their fight as the other fights go on, and then we have a couple kind of focused fights. Like I think like the one that obviously I think would be the like a really interesting one's Gray and it's Scoleon, and then Urza versus Misaki. Because I think if you had these, those would be ones that I think you could logically kind of have more plot to them or something happening. Like I think Misaki, it would be like a lot of sense if Misaki would be like, because she'd be petty and want to take it too far and want to get revenge for getting caught out by Urza and beaten, something like that. And then it's like, oh, Urza got a little bit stronger. She knows to run some of her moves now. And then maybe it's like, oh well, Urza, who has a lot of utility, versus Misaki, who Misaki has mostly hacks. I think it'd be really cool to like be something to kind of push her just to use her abilities in like a little bit new ways. Not like, oh, you know, her whole power evolved, but it's like, oh yeah, I have to do some extra couple moves to hit her. I never thought to do X, Y, or Z before because I've never ran into this kind of situation. Something like that I think would be really cool. Something like advanced relationship between them, kind of have like a healthy rivalry between them just to kind of set for the future. And then you obviously have the other setups, you know, good stuff with Natsu and Suzaku. You could have Laxus, Kieran. Like, there's a lot of really good ways that we could enhance the Diablos members through just general interactions. And I think a lot of them with skirmishes can do a lot of exposition and do a lot of like easy setup for like, you know, knowing about like whatever the problems are, getting them all onto the table. Like there's just a lot that can come out of that in value, but we'll see if Mishima wants to do anything with them, because it feels like to me Misaki, a good example is how Rogue felt. If you go back, don't think at all, like pretend you didn't read or watch the further points of the series right before you start those episodes or read them, and then like just like pay attention to the characters. It's pretty much all on Sting. Rogue does not really do much in like the full scale of things in that fight, and the same thing with Gajiel, and I think that was because Mishima was planning to save them for their fight later on, and he's done like stuff like this before, so maybe we'll see. That's just going to be one of those things that's like he's got a pattern in some areas. Is this going to fall into one of those, or is this going to be like he's just not wanting to do anything with him? Who knows? We'll see. I think that with Natsu and Suzaku's pair up, and the fact that you have these two characters that obviously are gonna do really well, like in terms of just getting along after the start. The fact they had a unison raid should say that they're very much kind of in sync and vibed on like a good kind of, not like reputation level. Like, you know, they've got a good amount of respect, I think, for each other, and there's a degree enough of understanding that, you know, they were able to achieve a unison raid. So I think through them, Mishima's gonna unite the two guilds, and then maybe through that point we could see more from them. Because I think if say like Misaki, like Misaki as a character, very similar in a way of Minerva, but like without all the context of building up with Minerva. So it's like we really only saw her as an enemy. Whereas like think about like when we saw Suzaku in combat mode versus seeing him pretty much in any other scenario. There's obviously a lot more to his personality and character than just like the pretty in general cold-faced swordsman who's just gonna blitz and cut down most of his enemies. So maybe that'll be with Misaki. Maybe it'll be like, oh yeah, we're gonna like in combat. There's no way that we're going to see like what she's normally like, and then outside of it, when everything's calm and kind of cool, we'll see more of her. Because she didn't seem to be like a psycho when we like saw them just showing up like initially when we first saw the other members of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights. She seemed pretty calm and chill, and it was like once we got into that combat scenario, she just had this like malicious switch turn. So who knows? The One Piece is real. I was so confused with some of those memes for a while because I hadn't seen them in full. I just saw like the weird dub videos, and I was like, oh, did some guy make a funny edit? And then it was just one of those ones that got viral for no reason. Because I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. And then I saw like the Whitebeard dick memes, and those were pretty funny. But they were a little bit too much. They stayed around a little too long. Like, you know, the first time it was funny. And then like the halfway through the second time it was funny, and then it was like, no, please stop. This is too much. This is too much Whitebeard dick. We don't need this. Let me see. Hero said we're going to be getting some downtime chapters after Kernark. That's going to be rough, but we'll see. I'm fine with it as long as he follows up good with the setup with Diablos. I'll be pretty happy. Because right now, like, there's a lot of stuff obviously in the future we're waiting for, but I think the thing right now with Diablos is it's a hanging plot point that I think needs to be addressed. We don't have to go deep into, you know, a training setup, dual guild joint thing with them. Like, they could just have, like, hang out, have, like, a beef squash, and then show up later, maybe, to help after they kind of, like, fix some stuff up. It's kind of hard with Celine. Celine's the thing that makes me kind of unsure about it. Like, unless Celine plans to give Kieran guildmaster status, and then say she has to go do something, and we take Celine out of place for a little bit, and then maybe the series, like maybe like the main cast, instead of dealing with another dragon god directly, like instead of going there, we either have stuff with Rebellious, or we end up doing stuff with Gold Owl that leads into Viernance, maybe. Who knows? Misaki will come back. A lot of old fairy tale villains come back. Well, the thing is, like, she's not a villain because they were of it's entirely from a perspective with them. They weren't like bad guys on some evil tirade. They were on a mission, and their guilds came to clash, and now they see each other as enemies. Because like we've seen multiple examples that like Diablos is actually pretty chill around like most people. It's when they're in a point where they're in a combat mindset that they decide to act how they are in combat. Like, Haku is a good example of that. Like, look at Haku when he's being himself, and then, okay, he has to fight, and he's just blitzing people, and he's actually pretty powerful. I wish we got to see some really cool offensive attacks from him. That's the only thing that, like, I think right now is really missing from Haku. Because, like, he's already pretty funny. He's got a likable personality. He's pretty goofy for a dragon slayer. I think Dogramag is done. I hope not. I hope that he's fine. I hope he's damaged, but he's still able to fight. And it's going to be like, say the next chapter is, what I would hope is somewhere between half to 2/3 fight, and then maybe we get some lore and backstory. And then I would love to see him be like, I'm going to use my trump card now. And then maybe he becomes a humanoid version of his dragon form. He becomes this bulking, badass looking dragon dude. Who knows? Or maybe he becomes even bigger. Like, I'm just like thinking, like, maybe his stones condense. Like, imagine that. And then he becomes like this kind of half form between his human and dragon form, but like only in his stone, like a stone armor or something. And then you have the next chapter be like Natsu and him fighting. And then like Natsu goes dragon force, or maybe Suzaku gets some energy back up. I really like the idea. What I would really hope would be like this. This would be like my bingo winning card for the chapter. It'd be like, okay, next chapter, like I said, half to 2/3 fight, some backstory and some flashbacks with Dogramag, and then ending with him doing like, I'm gonna do my my trump card ability, like I'm mad. Then next chapter, he's winning, he's really laying it into Natsu, and then it's like that moment, like in maybe a Natsu's mind, where Natsu's like starting to fade out, and he's thinking like obviously what's gonna happen. He remembers what Dogramag said about killing and eating his friends, and then it's that just complete snap, and then he goes into like the last page of that chapter is like an indicator of E&D. So it's like instead of getting Dragon Force with Alderaan, we're getting just a pure E&D moment. I think that would be the way to end this arc perfectly, because as I said before, like every fight needs to be amazing. The fights that we got that were really focused, good battles in this arc were great. Like Lucy's had two of the best fights in 100 Years Quest, and like especially with Ellentir, because like Urza, like the fights in that arc weren't that. They were good, but they weren't great. I think Lucy versus Mimi round 2 was great though, and then Lucy versus Kiria I thought was great, and the Natsu versus Suzaku, even as short as it was awesome. And same thing with Celine and Ignia. Despite the surprise attack, I still think it makes sense. Like I thought it could make complete sense for Ignia to be like, I'm not gonna fucking care about this anime talk waiting around until we're done chatting the fighting in thing. No, I'm just gonna go. I don't care. I like that. It's a bad guy thing, but it's one of those things like you don't have to listen. You don't have to abide by this. The idea of a character who just says, I don't give a fuck about talking. I think that's one of the things that was really cool about Actologia as well. It's just like, no, I don't have to do this. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep fighting. And he also didn't care about like an honorable combat. He just like opening, taking it, go. What's up, Happy the Assassin? How are you going? How are you doing? Yeah, the break, I'd hope it'd be like this. We would get to, after this arc, like we finish this fight, and like I said, hopefully a couple chapters, and then we have you have one of the, like a follow-up chapter where it's kind of the cooldown, we have a funny chapter, and then before the break, we have like a hype chapter, like something that's really just like, oh shit, so like, we go back, we see the Signario sisters, and we see some type of hype from Viernes. Maybe it's like a character where it's like we don't know if it's Viernes in a human form. Is it a guy who killed and ate Viernes and is a dragon eater that is just kind of like his own guy, but ate a dragon, like successfully ate a dragon god, got his power? Is it a dragon slayer that learned under him or something? And it's just like he decided to, like maybe instead of, oh yeah, I'm gonna adopt a human, train him to be a dragon slayer, send him to go fight a dragon. It's like I want to have a bodyguard essentially. So I really like the idea if Viernes is like this crazy old dragon who's like paranoid about like people coming after him, and he's just like gotten stronger over time out of like paranoia and hiding and just like the natural course of like a dragon. Because like that would be really cool too if it's like, oh yeah, we find out that like a dragon also gets stronger naturally. So it's like it would explain like, oh well, Ignia training incredibly hard would also increase that a lot on top of being from a powerful bloodline. So it'd just be like multiple things on top of just innate getting stronger by continuing to exist. Has anyone heard of the Genshin is getting an anime about Ufotable? I'll probably check that out. Genshin seems interesting. I haven't really delved much into Genshin. I've messed a little bit with gacha stuff before and wasted money on that. I try not to do that anymore. And but like it's kind of like League of Legends, but like I don't like the gameplay as much as like I like games of League, but like I would assume playing Genshin Impact wouldn't make me as angry as League does. So we'll see about that maybe one day, but I would definitely check out a show. Because I imagine the lore is probably pretty good, or at least pretty cool. Because like even if it's not, I would assume based on the style of the game, even if like the lore wasn't like crazy and deep, and I'm saying if, I don't know, might be, I would assume that the characters would be really cool. Kind of like how old League was when they had no real consistency and it's like, oh yeah, I just write this cool character. So it's like, oh well, that way whatever character you unlock, at least they have a cool backstory or they're connected in the story in some way. Sharing can be fun, but only Natsu great. Natsu, Gotcha, and Grave room motivation to get stronger. I don't think that's true. I think Urza would want to get stronger in general. Same thing with Wendy. I think Wendy would want to push herself after finding out more about her potential, and then Irene being a natural trainer in her fucking head. Lucy, I don't know why Lucy would not want to continue, because it's not like they all took the year off after Acnologia. I assume there weren't any crazy battles unless we find out some flashback movie or something, but it's not like they just stopped. It's what I would imagine. It was more of like how it is between normal arcs. Like there's like general, like they have downtime, they still train, they still do their stuff, but they're more relaxed and they're doing like lower level missions to kind of just get like, you know, normal funds and whatnot. Versus like when they go on big important missions. Because like you got to keep in mind they don't just do nothing for, you know, the weeks to months in between arcs. They've got shit going on. They still got to work. It's just like we see the important parts. We don't, and then, you know, filler and extra chapters and stuff. Sometimes we get bits into the everyday life or some extra lore materials and whatnot. I would love a training arc though. Like I would, but it's like I don't want it to be like an example of training arc. Like, you know, Goku in the hyperbolic time chamber or anything like that. I like the idea of, oh yeah, we're gonna essentially, like, imagine this. They have to move to their guild. They say, oh, we can fast travel. One of the things that we have that's really cool is because of, you know, for whatever reason, maybe it has to do with the skeleton their guild is based in. Maybe it's like, oh, it's based in a creature that can teleport. But it's not the same way as general teleporting. It's essentially like a fast travel. Where it's like, oh, we'll be able to get there, but we'll be in like a pocket dimension for 3 days. And we will then appear inside of our guild building. And so for like those 3 days, they're all paired up and they just skirmish and just have some, you know, some good general character displays. Like I would love to get like a Lucy and Kyria skirmish, but like their chapters do more for character interactions rather, because we've already obviously gotten a lot of stuff with fights between them, and I don't think we would need that right now. I think it would be cool to see some general moves, but more so find out more about their characters. Maybe Kyria would be like, maybe Kyria would be apologetic. It's not like, oh yeah, I lost, I'm gonna apologize. It's like, sorry for talking all that shit. You're actually a pretty good fighter. You know, you got a lot of good moves up your sleeve or something. Sometimes it's just like a general bit of apology and flattery, because I think it would be cool for her character to be like, I'm just gonna admit I was wrong and sorry. Like we're just right there. And then I think right there would be like a good pole vault for Lucy and her to become friends. Because clearly Kyria isn't evil and she's not fully bad. She's definitely a little messed up. I would hope that she only hypnotizes and tortures enemies. But again, that's different in the mindset of an enemy. Still not okay in general. But if it's only against people who are an enemy, I mean, it's better than, again, it's better than the general populace. At least we would get that. And maybe we would work that out, and Kyria would be like, Kyria, we don't do that anymore. Stop enslaving people. Like, actually, I don't know, because like, do we know that she has a history of it, or did she just do it to Urza? I think there was a mentioning. Yeah, there was a mentioning, I think, from Scoleon, rather, about, like, so that she's done this before. But I don't know. I wonder if she kills people afterwards, or she just lets them go or something. There's a good assault with the Signario sisters, and it'll be stupid. I don't think that'll be the case. One thing that I would really like, if it's not, like, my two scenarios. I would love a Lucy and Urza team up. I think that would be really cool. It's crazy. We actually have never really had one. Or if we have a return to form for Mira Jane. Because one thing I will say, I do not dislike Mira Jane. I'm just very honest with where I see Mira Jane in terms of strength and the relevancy compared to, you know, where we're at right now in the story. And she just isn't up to snuff with a lot of the characters anymore. So if Mishima could set up some really cool way for her character to become relevant again and become stronger, like, oh, she can fuse her demons together, or maybe she learns a degree of like how to kind of make a demon. Like she messes a little bit with living magic and makes a demon and absorbs it. Or maybe she just goes and finds like powerful natural demons in the world or something. I don't know. Like we have something and then we have her and Urza team up, or we have Lucy and Urza team up. I think there could be a really cool fight there. Because the Signario sisters, what I would like for the Signario sisters is to have, like, imagine someone like, the Azuma fight split apart. Like, I want that. Like take half of that and share it between, you know, the two characters. Because I assume that if we're going to see them, they're going to fight together and not separate. Just because it seems like they're known for being a duo. Who knows? Let Clover on break again? Yeah, it's on break this week. Rex is on a 7-minute response to a question. That happens sometimes, though. Sometimes sometimes I get sidetracked. I think we get something like the Grand Magic Games. I think if we get any form of tournament like arc, it would have to be in some form of cutoff arc where it's not about the dragon gods, or like it has to be with Ignia. I would assume, just based off a general guess, because like I think it would make sense wherever Ignia lives. If there's like if you know the people that worship him, assuming he has any alive, and it has like a civilization of some sort. I would assume that they have a coliseum and they're like fighting, and the in the coliseum is a regular thing. For example, like Natsu's Ichiko now, I do a simple swing. Yeah, that was the thing that confused me. It's like he didn't do any he didn't like raise it into a flaming Getsuga Tensho or something. Like he literally he grabbed the sword and then pretty much just burst forward and put fire on it. That's all he did. He didn't draw Happy's face on him like fucking Zoro. He was just like, no, slash to the head, or slash to the throat rather. I would love to see, because like one thing I'm really curious about when we see you next week is, I imagine Dogramag, because Dogramag should be able to survive this, like just logically, at least as of right now, unless the attack was just so much more powerful at him by being a unison raid that it was able to do that. Then it's like I would assume he's gonna get back up because dragons have levels of regeneration and. He should be made of stone, so it's like I would imagine it takes damage and maybe make him bleed, but one cut like this I don't think is gonna kill him. One second. Yeah, but I feel like one slash to the throat isn't gonna kill him. Like if it just beheaded him, that'd be one thing. But I don't know, because it's like if it's a flaming slash, shouldn't it cauterize the wound? Actually, I think it'd be really cool if Natsu melted part and we just see like a molten slash and there's some lava coming out. I think that'd be really badass. My question would be is like, how long can Natsu do this with the sword? Because he should be able to keep doing this, like just rushing forward, pretty much doing attacks, but I don't think he could do the whole Fire Wing thing again, because it should have been a combination of the two of their powers. Because like, he doesn't seem to have... I'm going to look at the chapter really quick and see Suzaku's exact lining about his magic. See if it was just his strength. So I think he just said his strength, like he's out of pretty... Yeah, he said... Okay, he says, I've spent all of my power. I think that he's put the rest in his sword. I think logically that's pretty much the scenarios. He should have no magic left, because when he threw the sword and he's saying it, I think that would make sense of his last ditch move in the fight, which I think is really cool. This is like it's like a reverse mode of Natsu and Gray with Marred Gear, but we'll see the next chapter. I'm really hoping that we're gonna see again like a further moment with Dogramag and then maybe something with E&D. I think it'd be perfect to have like Suzaku, like everybody leaving. Imagine this. Cause let me pull up the chapter really quick. I'm gonna pull up this, the previous chapter with Celine really fast. 1 second. I want the exact line of what Celine says, and with Lucy. Let me see something real fast. Where is it? It's like page 16 or something. Also, really fast, I'm gonna read some of the comments really quick, and then I'll also shill really fast from my channel. I really appreciate we got 17 people in here. If we can get a couple more likes, just hit that thumbs up button, like the stream if you haven't. And if you feel like it, if you want to donate to me, just any amount of money is appreciated. But like I said, it's appreciated. It's not a requirement. It's only up to the idea, obviously, of a donation. It's up just to a tip. As well as I do have a join button down there as well. I have just 2 tiers of membership right now. It's just a $1 and a $2 one, and that's just for additional content. And I'm planning to add one thing is I will add that probably what I'll do is I'll have members get videos, not reviews. Reviews will come out normal, whenever I can get them out. In terms of just timeline wise when I can get them uploaded and put them out, recorded, rendered, and everything. Put them out, and then those will be up like normal time, and then between those and the streams I'll have videos that maybe like members will get like a few days early. I'm gonna do my Natsu versus Jalal fight breakdown, and then I'll upload that. What's tomorrow? Thursday? I'll probably upload that maybe tomorrow or Friday. I gotta do my 100 years quest, so I gotta upload my review, and then I'm gonna do my predictions for the next video or the next chapter, and then I will and then I'll do that fight video. And probably between now and that point we'll do another stream, and maybe because I gotta do I'm gonna do an Igneel video. Like I've got some videos that I'm really thinking about, and one is a video on Prime Igneel that I'll put out. I'm gonna try and aim for Saturday or Sunday. It's not gonna be like a super long video. Maybe I'm gonna try and keep it somewhere under 15 minutes. I mostly want it just to be kind of like a breakdown of the situation and the theories around like Prime Igneel and where he really sat when he was at his peak, and ideas around it, what ifs, because there's a lot of areas we don't know, and that's the thing I would like to really figure out about the situation of Igneel, like an Igneel flashback. And I don't think we could ever get that until we either get a character that knows him, or I guess knew him, or we get a point where Wendy uses Milky Way to summon him. The other people are mad about not using a sword. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Suzaku was absent from the Unison raid. Oh, he's a swordsman. He couldn't have really done anything other than used his sword in a, slash combo attack with Natsu, or given Natsu his sword. And I think this was better because it gives the potential to set. Well, it depends, because like, is this the end of the fight? Which I don't know. We could have easily had Suzaku and Natsu in a really cool double page move, but I think otherwise there's the hope that there's going to be a setup, and I think, my fingers crossed, if there's an E&D moment where like Suzaku is just onlooking and seeing this and being like, what the fuck, I think that'll be so worth it. Because like, here's the thing that I think people are forgetting when they talk about Suzaku's position in the fight, like assuming this is the final move of the fight, like, and I'll put that out in the situation, assuming it's the final move that we have. Just last arc, he had the biggest fight and he won. He won in a fair situation where it was like, obviously, well, I guess it depends, because like, she chose to do that. She could have went into dragon form, but it's not what she wanted. It was part of her plan, but it's like he still got the biggest win, even though it became the biggest L for him. It's like, but that's like part of his story. I think now, because like, here's another thing. We know that Suzaku is super cool about people in his guild, and he's clearly like a very chill and nice guy to be around. Like, he's clearly very selfless, and I think it makes sense for him to want to do this, to be like, yeah, I'm gonna cut my way out of this, but then I'm gonna pretty much just use a lot of my strength to do that, and then after that point I'm just gonna give the rest of my power to Natsu for hopefully like a big move. Because like, I'm trying to think of I was thinking about like what could happen if it's like he's in a situation like that, but it's like, what would happen? It's like, what if he goes Dragon Force? But it's like, I don't think he would go Dragon Force now, unless it'd be like to save Natsu. But then it's like, then what? We're gonna have Dragon Suzaku versus Dogramag? I don't know. Like, that's an extra really weird line, because I don't know, with the Dragon Eaters and their Dragon Force, knowing that unless something interferes, it's a one go, is like a really weird thing for them to always have in a scenario, which I think is pretty cool though. Just like an odd factor whenever they go into a spot, just to kind of theorize over like, okay, what can they do? Like, I know Gray is never going to use Lost Ice Shell or Lost anything unless he can somehow cancel out that effect, which I obviously want. I don't want Gray to do that. But unless it, no, because it's like I don't want any scenario where people forget about Gray. I think that would suck. I would really not like that. Yeah, Suzaku had the spotlight of the biggest fight in the previous arc. How Ichiki demonstrated her abilities is definitely how Asta should use Ki in conjunction with his anti-magic. I'm wondering how it's going to really play out. Also, I think one thing people, at some point, somebody who actually like is good at reading Japanese should compare the original Japanese translations with the officials and the fan translations, because people are going to take the difference of what was in the, at least from what we got in the text spoilers and then in the fan translations, 10 times increase in Ki is like, and the officials is like what, like hundreds. So it's like, is it supposed to be hundreds, or is it gonna be one of those cases where it's just a messed up translation, but people are gonna take it that way for power level increase? Luckily for me, I have the mess up with the Alderon's health from taking Demolition Fist as, what was it, an official's like a 1/1 billionth when it's supposed to be 100 millionth, and it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna cheat on that extra zero just because the official's fucked up when I know it's what it's supposed to be, what it is in the Japanese version. Hope Urza keeps her short hair. Oh, hard pass, no thank you. Maybe if like, I'm trying to think of how it would look good with short. I don't want her to keep it like short. I like it long. I like Urza's long hair. I think it looks great on her, and on top of that, it's important to her story. Like, some characters look good with short hair. I don't think Urza would the same way as like Skywalker, because I think Skywalker's spear attributed in like style of her clothing attribute to, whereas Urza's just more in like a night set, and I think Urza's flowing red hair is part of the whole, you know, design addition to the way she fights and stuff with her armor. I don't think with the short hair it looks as good visually. Imagine, Lost, wait, what? Lost ignores death. I don't know what you mean. 100 Years Quest doesn't have good animation. I'm going to flip the table. Yeah, I'll be pretty bummed out too. Yeah, but not too great God, you'll have important reasons to train. I think that they, like, there should be motivation set points, but there should also be the fact that, like, the other characters aren't going to just not train. Yeah, Celine being here makes stuff weird. Obviously, he's teleporting. That's true. Like, I was thinking about the teleporting idea of like how they get there, but it's like, well, maybe Celine is the one that's just gonna put him in some form of subspace to train. There you go, a perfect fix. I don't have to think of some convoluted way that they would have some training space. Celine is perfect answer. If Aqua Era is spatial water magic, do you think Lucy could potentially acquire it? Yes, I do. I think it'd be really easy for Lucy to be able to gain Aqua Era. Because like all she has to really do is go talk to Ferris and have somebody who knows it tell her how it works. Lucy's really smart. She knows water magic and spatial magic, so I don't really see a problem in her learning the technique. Mary Jane sucks. Mary Jane doesn't suck. It's just that she hasn't had like any good moments in a long time. But it's not just the good moments. It's the fact that strength-wise, she just isn't relevant anymore. And that's a problem. I don't think Mira Jane should have to be fighting, you know, Kieran, but I think that she should be able to contend with, like, I think that she should be able to fight Kyria. Whether, like, she can win or not, I think would come down to situation, but I think she should be able to keep up with her and swap attacks with her just fine. Scullion seems to be a chunk above Mad Mole, and, you know, and really when you think about it, when you look at, like, the whole of Diablos, it's like, obviously the top you have Georg, then you have the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, and then I imagine Scullion, at least from depiction, seems a little bit above the general rest, and then you have the remaining members of Diablos. How does that just does not seem to like Mary Jane at all? Why do you hate Mary Jane so much? She just has the problem is she hasn't, like, she didn't have like a big hype fight in Tartaros because it had more to do with her backstory and putting her in a spot where she was the weaker character. But it was after that we just didn't have as much of a like big stuff follow up from her. So it's felt so long since she's had like a really big battle spotlight. But like she just wasn't up to snuff in Alvarez, so she had a year to cover it and she just still hasn't gotten there. So it's like I just don't know if Mishima has the plans to do anything with her going forward, because I think logically she should have lost a lot of her souls from Tartaros, because I think it would make sense if after Zeref died that their souls disappeared and she no longer had them. She should be able to potentially, like in theory, be able to copy them and just, make a duplicate form. But that's just obviously in theory, because obviously Takeover, you don't need the soul, like the knowing how the makeup and the structure of what it is can get it too. Having a soul that just seems to be the fast pass to getting the full power. It just seems like you have the soul, cool, you get the whole thing, and then it's like, well, there are ways to learn bits and parts otherwise. Thoughts on the Black Clover chapter? I thought it was alright. I'm kind of like, I don't feel like it should be a time right now for a calm kind of exposition chapter. I think we should have had like another like 2 chapters of like build up and dread, and then we had this. Because it just feels kind of weird knowing it's like it's so early in the arc that like the arc started with like Asta loses and then gets sent somewhere, and then immediately we're finding out about another place. Like there's no kind of in between. It's just sudden. I don't know. Fall season looking hype. I'm so excited for Chainsaw Man, dude. I really hope that it ends up. Well, I've seen the trailer. It looks good. I'm assuming it's gonna be awesome, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. My hype is there, but I'm gonna still keep the the possible bad scenes or fuckery ups or whatever, or like if it's controversial and becomes a thing. Who knows? Or if the Headless Dragon counterpart plotline will be brought up again. Well, it was never like really an established thing. It's not. Every single dragon had an Headless counterpart. Not everything with Headless characters was the exact same thing. Like with Wendy's, the Headless Wendy was born at a completely different time period. Because it's like at the first you think, oh, well, this Wendy was born earlier, a couple years older than Wendy, but it's like, no. The Earthland Wendy was born centuries before her. Like imagine that though. Imagine like, oh yeah, the Headless version of a character hasn't just been born yet. Like, oh, it's like, well, Edalus, I don't know, Gildarts, he's not going to be born for another 30 years or something. And that'd be actually really cool. Like, what if you had, like, a cool Edalus version of a character that's, like, brought over, that's somebody from, like, an older character, but it's, like, they're just born differently. Like, if we had, like, oh, yeah, it's who'd be really funny to bring? It's, August, but he's, he's 12, and he's from Edalus. He has his own setups, but he's got, it's like kind of weird because it's like, how do you can really connect them power-wise or like lore-wise? It's just them. Like, I don't really know who you could do anything with unless it's like, oh, well, August, because he was so powerful, he was able to, like, what if he did something kind of like what Irene did, but only if he ever, like, there was ever a version of him. Like, I don't know. Like, what, or like he made he put himself in a book similar to Zeref, but it's like, it was just like knowledge of himself. So you set up the Edalus August eventually finding the book because he is still technically August. It absorbs into him and he is reborn. Like, it's like a cheat way for him to be essentially reborn in like in his youth. He gets his power back and stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like weird ways that like you could really do stuff with that knowledge of Edalus. Because it's not like every Edalus member isn't just like born at the same time. It's not just like a one swap. Mary Hughes is a woman instead of a man. Like Makarov instead is Faust, and he's a completely different looking guy as a king, and instead of Ivan, his son is Jalal. Like, stuff is really different when you start spreading out to the weirder ends of where Edalus is. Hornets the Apocalypse was pretty hype. Power friendship with Dogramag asleep. I don't really think that. I don't see that was power friendship. It just seemed like they were getting along. Man, let me find this chapter or this page really quick because I wanted to see what's like. What did Celine said to Lucy? Let me see. Where's the page? But I think that she was talking more about Gajil. Well, no, she's saying no, because it's like she's saying that she was like, let's go help Dodson, and she's like, no, leave Labyrinth, trust your friend. I think that, and again, it's like Lucy is just kind of like has no real words response, just a visual response, and then Urza's the one that says something about Gajil and Panther Lily, obviously setting up the next part with Gajil and Panther Lily. So let me just lay this idea out there. It's like, imagine this. Natsu, like next chapter, we have flashback, some form of information about Dogramag, his relationship with Ignia. He uses trump card. He does something cool. I'll just say for theory's sake, he, like I said, he condenses his body. All the stone condenses into this armor, and he's like this much. Whether he's humanoid or just a more badass looking dragon, regardless, he's some form of cool hype form. And now he starts to really just crush Natsu. Natsu's not able to really keep up. Then he says like, "Oh, I don't have enough magic for Dragon Force." Like we see him go into we see lightning. Imagine this lightning flame dragon, lightning flame dragon mode goes for like a minute, not working, and it's like, oh, okay, he does a roar, doesn't work. Goes into Fire Dragon King mode, does something else, doesn't work immediately. He's clearly running out of power. He knows he doesn't have enough for Dragon Force. You have him about to go and like kill. But you have like him about to kill both him and Suzaku or something, and then like I'm trying to imagine this scene in my head of how this could be both badass but also really set up the moment. Imagine you have, because I want to lay it out in people's brains too, because if this doesn't happen, at least imagine the hype that could have been. You have Dogramag having like 2 condensed rock spikes, and he's about to, or maybe like hammers. I think spikes would be cool. Like, he's about to just impale or stab or do whatever to both of them. And then it's like you have this flash where Natsu's thinking about, obviously... It's like you think about, like, obviously protecting the people, in his guild. But then that also, Suzaku is, like, right there as well. You see the sword, whatever weapon come down on Natsu, it just starts to vanish. And it's just melting and being... Not just, like, melting, but it's essentially being erased by heat. And then you have Dogramag look over and you see one of those, like, elongated black claws that Natsu had when he fought Gray, and then you see it just above Suzaku, and it just doing the same thing to the other stone weapon, and then like he looks down back at Natsu, Natsu's looking up at him, and we get that whole, the shadow around the eyes, and that kind of like weird smoke just kind of like coming off him, and then the chapter ends with just like a, either that or like a really cool like attack panel. I don't know, something like that. There could really be, like, potential hype there that could set up a really cool moment with that. Because, say you have, like, all of them evacuating the labyrinth, and then Lucy senses, something's up with Natsu, shows up, comes to do stuff, and then you have a moment where, like, she's seeing Natsu, like, she can't stop him this time, but she can maybe save him, kind of thing. Where she, like, Dogramag gets killed, but Lucy is able to prevent him from just like, destroying himself. Or maybe eventually he wants to go after Suzaku or something, and then she has to prevent that. Or like, maybe it's like he just starts destroying stuff, and it's like because of the destruction he's causing, Lucy's put in like a dangerous situation, and he has to stop attacking Dogramag for a second to go make sure Lucy's okay or something. Or like go keep her from danger. Because I think that would be a really good way to also set up, like, if revealing if the living magic link went from Xerath to Lucy or not, and it would make sense, because it makes a lot of sense. And it's like, oh yeah, you have some form of setup where it's like, yeah, he has to protect her, not just from, obviously who she is and who he is, but like a literal obligation, like in his structure. Wonder who will voice Suzaku. I don't know. Imagine somebody really cool. She should have had the Fairy Tail, Dragon Slayers, and Diablos fight Dogramag. I don't think the thing is, like, I would have really liked that, but it would depend on, like, where he would really want to set the bar for the week. What is the bar for, like, a full-scale Dragon God? Once you get to, what is Dragon God tier? As far as we know, Dogramag, getting past Dogramag is like the first obstacle in being in that tier. You have to either be equal to or above Dogramag to be Dragon God tier. So if them together, like, I imagine if Natsu and Suzaku together, like both of them fully fresh and ready to go, them together should be able to defeat Dogramag with not counting Dogra cores and stuff, just normal Dogramag, because the Dogra cores are an extra that he has, but just off of like his strength, not like an extra ability. I think they should be able to defeat his full power, like obviously in just general display. And here, if you have, say, like, oh yeah, well, because it's trump card and like they weren't fresh at full power, you can have him keep fighting, and then have, oh yeah, well, E and D is stronger than the bar for Dragon Gods, so then adding Dragon Force into what we saw against Phobia is one of the things that just skyrocketed him leagues above all of them and made it so, like, he was able to smack around somebody that was on par with Alderaan to where his Demolition Fist, granted he was base, but his demolition fist did 1/100 millionth of total damage to somebody. Will you stop reading Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Man, Four Knights has been pretty good lately. I've been liking it a lot. The only problem I would say is that some of the chapters where it feels like time isn't passing a lot, and you mostly just realize like you just waited a week, got a chapter that probably lasts 3 minutes in the verse, and it's not like a big mega fight. It's more of just like a setup and like fight where you're getting a lot of small characters doing stuff. That's enough solo Jalal. I mean, he's a lot stronger than Jalal at the moment. Concept of destroying orbs is killing the Dragon God hype. Well, no, the thing that people don't understand about Dogramag is this is Dogramag. This is Dogramag at his actual level. The Dogramag that we were seeing before was pretty much made indestructible through something he has set up. The only reason that was able to get, that people were able to get around that was primarily Selene, because Selene was able just to teleport people right to the location of where one was. Dogramag in a normal 1v1 is not gonna lose often, like unless you could just outright just because one, you have to be able to destroy his his rock. Unless you could somehow just dodge him forever and move around the whole labyrinth and not worry about stamina at all and just destroy them, or have some special ability that can do it. Either way, unless you can just like destroy the labyrinth and nuke the area, like what are you really gonna do to get him out of that indestructible status? The Dogramag we're seeing right now is him at his actual power. What people are just forgetting for some reason is that he is the weakest dragon god. He's 100 years behind the ones that we are supposed to be fighting. He wasn't supposed to be alive, but him being alive set up a really good position for Dragon God Bar. He is the spot you have to be equal to or greater than to be Dragon God tier in the verse. The thing that right now we need to know is if this attack beats him. Because, like, one, it'll be rough if he's just defeated here, unless it's, like, a knockout defeat. And, like, if Igneous shows up and rescues him, and it's just, like, a knockout, it's not a kill, fine. It depends entirely what Mishima would want to do with it. Because if it is one that just KOs him, but maybe it sets up something for the future, okay. Or if Igneous doing something, but it's, like, if Mishima has plans to do greater things with Dogramag, but not now, this is the intro, okay. But I would really like to see some more with him, because I feel like personally that he's not going to make it out of this arc. So I would really like it for it to continue and just kind of showcasing his character. Like, again, I would really like it if he trump cards next chapter, and it starts to really turn in his favor, and we have some form of really cool dark twist. I would really like that, because I don't think that the similarities and connections between the E&D we saw in Alvarez and the E&D we saw in Elmina or Ermina are nothing. Because the thing that every time you gotta remember, when Mishima was writing Tartaros, Alvarez was the end of the series. There was no 100 Years quest continuation. But by the time he got to Alvarez, he already was working on plans with 100 Years quest and having that whole setup. So he already decided that was going to be a thing. So the stuff that was going on in Alvarez happened with 100 Years quest in mind. So with this all right now, I think the connections of, because like when you really think about it, 100 Years quest, it's more like a saga with lots of, for the most part, short arcs. There's only like some like more sizable arcs, but for the most part the arcs aren't that long. They're more of just like more like really, you know, they're slices and chunks of a larger story. And I'm willing to bet that when Mishima was planning out the whole fight with Natsun Gray, it was within a reasonable time that he would have already thought about the Mercephobia fight. I think that, like, I'm not gonna say like he thought of up to this fight now, but it's like I would have assumed that he would have been, you know, he would have had the Mercephobia stuff in mind within the, like, if a fair span of writing those chapters. Because when you think about it, when you really think about the manga, the difference between those chapters is only like what, like 70, 80 chapters or something. So it would be like in the normal span planning a year plus in advance. Like I mentioned, like, oh yeah, I've a general idea of 2 years in advance, which is entirely believable. It's not like, oh yeah, I have everything planned out, but I have I have some things long scaled plan out, and I feel like stuff with your main character makes a lot of sense for that to be one of them. So if we maybe get a follow up of D&D in the next few chapters, because I think the dire situation that Dogramag seems set on killing and eating them. So I think we could really have some setup with that. And then with Lucy, I think the stuff with Lucy really puts a good picture on that situation as a maybe. It'll be weird if we don't have something like that at some point as a follow-up, but I feel like with the bits in this chapter, I think it would make a lot of sense for it to happen here. With, like, if they're leaving the labyrinth, but Lucy has some form of just feeling to turn around and go back. And she's able to figure out how to get there because of a connection with Natsu. Saying Soul Society isn't doing anything to Alvarez is mad. I'm not saying they're not doing nothing, but I don't think the Soul Society can win. The captains were scared shitless from Yamo acting as Bankai Wall's washing them. Well, it's like Wall... One of the things about you gotta give the Yamo has AoE, but like in comparison, obviously. But it's like Wall has the temperature in shots. But it's like the large scale gaps when you think about the sets. Soul Society's ace card. You're looking at Yamamoto. You can say maybe like well no, because the Soul Society and the Royal Palace are two different bodies. Or well, sort of. Oh yeah, because the Soul Palace and Soul Society are like kind of like two separate places, right? Either way, because like I'm pretty sure it should be Yamamoto and not Ichibe, because they associate with the Royal Palace, and I think the Royal Palace should be completely technically cut off by the Soul Society and the 13 Court Guard squads. With the whole Gote 13, I think should be, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, counted as a separate body, right? And when you look at their peak versus like what Alvarez's top is Zareth. Like, what Zareth is literally gonna just walk around, like, just his, not even talking about all his hacks, he's immortal, him walking around just radiating death. If he wanted, like, if once he gets to the point of, like, going out there, like, going to war, and, like, if he steps out in the battlefield. But then you look at the specialists, like, the big people on them, you look at, let's look at the captains, and then look at the, the Spriggan 12. And then look at, like, the large-scale amount of just general fodder that Alvarez has. They have over 1 million soldiers. Like, just in sheer wear down numbers. And these aren't like regular human stats. There should be a general default level of, I would assume they're at least fodder level. Like, even if you said that they're as powerful as, let's say, base pre-second origin Natsu. Put them super low, but literally where fodder was after the time skip. Not counting obviously Lightning Flame Dragon Natsu, and then once Natsu got stronger, but just base Natsu should have been. He should be pretty fodder. So like them, a regular member of their army being that weak, well, not being like some random fodder nobody, but at least being something I was like, okay, I can see that being somewhere strong in comparison to random nobodies, but obviously once you name characters that are going to be nobody, they're going to turn into the nobodies pretty much. But 1 million of those, and then you have again the brokenness of all the Spriggan, and then it's like August alone, Irene alone. Like imagine it's like, oh yeah, Irene is just Deuce Senming, and it's like Kenpachi can destroy him, but what happens when she does something like separates Kenpachi from Nozarashi, and then he no longer has a Zanpakuto to use? Or does that to relatively anybody? Or what happens when Demaria stops time? Like, there's too many crazy broken abilities spread out on top of the sheer overwhelming numbers. And then the peaks of both sides. Zareth is way too much for Yamamoto. Yamamoto, like, loses consistently to demigods, too, which is funny. Maybe Viernes turned himself into gold. I mean, he should, gold should be made of his body and, part of his composition as a dragon by default. When boss becomes a playable character. To honestly, Zox does my respect. He took a hell of a beating before being taken down. Well, he took a lot of power just to break out of, I would assume, Dragon Diamond. Because it should be at the very minimal Diamond, but I would assume it's Dragon Diamond. Because that should be part of his labyrinth, right? It should be part of his material. And he's condensing it into an attack. What's my favorite song from UT? What do you mean UT? Let me just start the Sword Saint roar looks like. I would like to imagine a sword. Like, here's my headcanon. A Sword Saint Dragon's roar. It's like a battle shout, but it gives him like, imagine it's just like for like a 3-second period, he just is like on fucking adrenaline, and it's like it's not as powerful as his obviously his trump card moves, but imagine it's just like it's faster than his general moves, but it's just this blinding speed where even for him it's like I don't use this normally because it's like it's difficult in general, and it's just like this, like I can't snap very well, but it's just like he's on the other side, and it's like it's made to look fast even comparison to him, or it's like maybe done in like some weird like introverted colors or weird visual effects, or maybe his blade like lights the area he slashes on fire, and that has to do with his the color and stuff. Do something like that. Yeah, that'd be really cool too, because then it'd be like also could combo well with Natsu. How many arcs do you think 100 Years Quest left? I don't know, probably like 4 or 5. It depends. Suzaku's MVP for cutting the labyrinth rocks. Yeah, that was pretty cool. What's up, Guillotine? I thought it was actually really cool that Natsu couldn't break them, but Suzaku could cut them, because obviously, like, if Natsu and Suzaku, if their attacks at the same level of power, Suzaku is going to be... Well, it's like, no. It's like if Natsu with a slash, swinging a slash, in terms of raw power, is going to be more powerful than Suzaku's, but Suzaku has the technique and actual skill. Whereas, like, Natsu's is brute force, so Natsu's slashes would have more force to surface area. But when you just kind of look at it as, like, the general setup, it's like, yeah, Natsu's punches can't do anything, but like the slashes are able to, because of the more pressure and force to the surface area, it's able to actually do enough to split the rocks, which I think is really cool. August in his youth would have been terrifying, saying OP he already was. I would love to see, like, I would love so bad to get some flashback spin-offs. Like, I would love to see August in his youth, just to see what it was like for him growing up, or if we could again get something like a cheat way to bring him back. Dogramag is the weakest dragon god, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's finished here. I would be surprised if he's finished here just because, like, it didn't seem like he was in his dragon form for like 2 seconds, and it's not like he's Selene, or it's not Selene. It's not like Irene, where Irene became a dragon slayer, so her base form I think it's fine to be more important for her in terms of the length of the fight. But Dogramag as a dragon I think should be in his dragon form for a majority of the fight. So I think we should get at least 1 to 1.5 more fighting chapters. Plus, we don't really know anything about him, so it's like it would suck if his character ended right here. Like, I would love to get some lore and like some flashbacks, even if it's just like a handful of pages, just to connect him and Ignia, and then set up for some cool stuff. Again, like imagine the setup of the next 3 chapters. You have the next chapter, Dogramag gets he's on his feet, continues to fight. We're seeing into his backstory and stuff. We have him use trump card. The next chapter has some E&D stuff, like I said, and then the following chapter is like the end of the fight, maybe a little bit more Dogramag lore, and then Natsu ends up defeating him. And then we have like stuff with like Lucy and Igni, and like maybe some follow. Because I think that'd be really cool too, if Lucy goes back, Ignia comes back, Ignia sees the E&D stuff and kind of knows like what he's gonna do. Maybe sees like a little ID. He connects like between Lucy and Natsu, kind of gets a plan for later. But either he saves Dogramag, finishes him off. Maybe it's like, or maybe it just sets up like his knowledge of like what really he needs to do to get Natsu at that breaking point of power. Dogramag did say he didn't have full power yet, so he gets back up. Yeah, it's like I would assume his full power. He's got to use a trump card. I would hope at least. I'm just gonna be bummed out if he's done here. Like, unless, like, my only hope would be otherwise is, like, if Mishima has bigger plans for him or, like, gets him out of there to, like, make it very clear, like, he's not done. But it's like, I really would like to see more from his first fight, because we don't really know anything about him, so, like, his character would just come across really, really stale. But, like, maybe he's gonna be one of those characters where it's gonna be, like, he likes to fight, but every time we see him, we find out more about him. I think Pelagard is a good example of that character. Like, if we get somebody like him, but with Dogramag. We kind of disappointed Schooling. If we didn't see more Schooling and Mad World, me too. Shizukaisen. I'm gonna actually watch the movie Zero later. I haven't watched it yet. I'm really interested. I'm gonna pull it probably soon. I obviously have read the manga, but like I haven't seen the movie, so I'm pretty stoked. We should next volume cover next couple months. When did we get the last one? I know it wasn't that long ago. For volume, what was the last one that we got? Was it 12? The one with Ignia and Celine. We also saw Lucy in her Gemini Aquarius star dress. Actually, too. That was pretty cool. After this arc, Diablos and Team Knots obviously won't be having another round. I think that there should be some skirmishes, but I would really like it if stuff like Masaki and Urza isn't finished. And that's one where it's like every other one is like you have healthy skirmishes, but you know, one that has some bad blood still on it and is still mad. Is my mic low? Here, I'll turn it up a little bit. You said stuff about Zeref never did against. Wait, all these things you never said. You said about Zeref he never did against Natsu. That's because Zeref wanted to have fun with Natsu. That was the whole point. Zeref, we know. Let me tell you something real fast. Let me make sure. And you think there's a way to turn your volume up a little? Yeah, I'll turn the game up. I'll turn the game up real fast. If you refuse to accept that Fairy Tail versus overpowered, yeah, it's like it's once you get to like the people that are both broken and really powerful, because like there are people like, for example, Doom, and Nineheart and stuff like that, where it's like they're broken, but they aren't that powerful. And then like look, and then also like think about people like Franmoth or people like Keys. And then you look at like, oh yeah, when you get to like Mardgear in comparison, where you have the whole package, or you have somebody like Zeref who can do do the whole thing. August, Irene, the people who can do all do all pretty much areas. Who when they actually got to throw hands, they can throw hands. When they got to throw some range spells, they got to throw some range spells. When they need some utility, they got utility. We know for a fact Zeref mastered black magic, so every black magic Zeref knows. So things like being able to split himself into duplicates, like what Briar did, being able to put flesh-eating viruses directly into people's bodies, including their brain, like stuff like that. Like he's able to do shit like that, like this. I think a good example of this, that it's not an exact, but it's a good potential connection, is what Jerome had with his swords, being able to decay other swords. If that's what what happened with Natsu when Natsu used that flame sword on Zeref, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's just he just used it with his body instead of having to use it with his sword, because he's already mastered this type of magic versus some guy who's probably been using black magic for a couple of years. Like we know that, like for example, when Zeref was just talking to Makarov, he's just doing whatever. The second he wanted to actually like kill him, bound him and was just gonna do it. When he was like, all right, I'm not going to just kind of throw hands with Natsu, he just locked him in place with magic, just stopped him. Natsu, obviously, Dragon Force was able to burn it, but it showed that, like, once he actually was like, I'm going to just use some hacks that I know can stop you in place. Bam, I'm just going to put you right there, and I'm going to do my monologue, and I'm going to talk. He's broken. He's absurdly powerful. The thing about Natsu is he wants to have a good fight with his brother, and he wants to be around him, and it wanted it to be what ended him. There is it's like with Bacchus and Elfman. There is a direct connection between these two characters to why Bacchus behaved the way he did. I imagine if Elfman didn't challenge him, it would have went to where he just beats him until he's either not fighting anymore, or he just fights until they have a draw. Like where he challenged him to pretty much they just fight until exhaustion, until he fell over, was because he pretty much challenged him as a man, and because of how Bacchus is, that pretty much was like auto ticket. Yeah, let's go, let's do it. Where it's like similar to like you could have a character who is like Levy. If Levy can get the surprise on Natsu, bam, solid script carriage. She's able to beat a Dragon Slayer that's way more powerful than her. Like there's. Obviously, that's an ability thing, but obviously stuff with personality, like Juvia versus Gray was a good early example of that as well. And then there are times where just the way that characters interact change the general way you would think that they would interact. Wait, didn't Zeref lose the old tier? Do you mean? Dude, did you read the manga? Hold on. There's literally a word explanation of Hades saying, you lost to Ultir, and Zeref saying, yeah, because of how my curse works, when I care about life, I can't control my powers and stuff. Like, there's a little manga explanation of this. Hope Hero updates the stats for all the characters. Probably not. Well, that wasn't from Mishima. That was from Jason did those. So it's in there that those are stuff that Jason put. That's why Jason's, for some of the characters, was what he knew of, and that's what, or some of the characters were lower than what they should have been because it was what was his knowledge. He's a reporter, so his knowledge of members of certain guilds and characters is obviously gonna be like, oh yeah, what he can find out word of mouth, what he can get from either interviewing them, talking to people in their guild. So he knows general stuff about, like, obviously Natsu and whatnot. From, I would assume with Natsu them, he knew from them, he's going off of like pre-time skip, or at least maybe beating them before second origin. And then that's why people like Yukino and members of Raventail had no known stats, as he didn't know anything about them. Yuta or Yuji for main character? Oh, I like Yuta way more. Like, Yuji just isn't that interesting. Yeah, Yuji just isn't that interesting for me. I don't think he's that cool. Like, I like him, but it's like, I just don't, like, I'm not too hyped to see him. And there's never a time where I'm like, oh yeah, Yuji's here to do stuff. It's like, oh cool, Yuji doing stuff. Or it's like Yuta showing up. Yuta's a little overhyped, but like, I get why he's overhyped. I'm waiting for a point where Yuta will have another really cool, like, another really good, like, Yuta flex moments. Not like just him being a character's father, but more of like when he fought Geto, where it's like, it's a massive fight for him, but like it's showing that he's able to do this at a level thing, not as much as like a crazy utility or like a like a certain kind of like specific matchup. I want to see one where it's just like he's fighting a big character and it's just a clash of two extremely powerful people. That's what I really want to see from him again, because I really like that comparison of like Yuta when he's just kind of calm and chill, and then it's like when you really see what he's capable of, and not just like he's able to copy stuff or he's got all these moves, when he's really just showing off his potential. Is there for precognition or analytical prediction? I don't think he has anything like that. Even though there's a fan service, I gotta say, Fairy Tail has some of the best female characters. The thing is though, is fan service keeps the worst fans away, and it's like, I stand by this. The series that have ample fan service don't get the really weird fans. Not all of them, so they still do, but they don't get it. It filters out a lot. Like, it's just, think of it just literally like a big strainer. Like, it gets a lot of them out. Still get some, but a lot of that mass is not in there. They don't have to deal with the same problems. I don't think the less fan service you have to your female cast, I think the less fan service you have is just like, it seems, at least in the West, you get a lot of more toxic fan base, like, chunks. And like, people think I'm kidding, but it's like, really, look at like what are the fan bases that always end up being the most rude and just nasty to other fandoms for no reason. It's always the ones that don't really care to do fan base, or when they do, it's always like just towards like dudes getting fan based, and it's like never females for some reason, or like very lightly females. Then people get mad about it, but they're not mad about what happens with the male characters. I think that's one of the examples of when you're at that area. What do you think the next arc will be like? It'll depend on like how this arc ends. Like, what'll the setup be? And I think it's gonna have to do with Gold Owl. No, it's very true. Like, people think I'm kidding, but it's like, people complained about Fire Force and Undead Unluck about like the fan service aspects of it. But what, like, have you ever heard anything rude coming from the people that like that the fans of the manga? This doesn't happen. What's up, Kimano? What are your least favorite type of characters you just absolutely hate, or interactions or personality, etc.? My thing with characters, I would say, is I don't like it when characters don't give a credit. Like, this is a general thing for me. Like, when characters don't give a character credit they should get. Like I think, for example, I'm trying to think. Like, for example, World of Warcraft. So in my character in the game, I think in the timeline, and at least as of right now, it's like 20 years or something since the no, I know, I think it's real time. So I think it's like, what, when did the game come out? 2005 or whatever. So what, 17 or whatever years. I think it's supposed to be in real time of when the expansions come out, I think. And I think there's supposed to be a time skip in the expansion, not important. But in the game, my character, obviously, like, everybody's character has done the same thing, but in the perspective of the NPCs, I am this character who's done all these amazing things. But whenever I meet a character who does, like, talks to me like I'm some nobody, it pisses me off. And it pisses me off when it happens in series. So it's like, you have this character who like God of War. God of War is another one. Is a good one. So, because God of War, a lot of people obviously played the most recent one, not Ragnarok, but the God of War PS4, whatever, just the continuation of where God of War 3 left off. But it's like you have Kratos. Kratos has killed an entire pantheon of gods. He's killed Titans. He's killed the Sisters of Fate. He's killed, all different creatures throughout Greek mythology. He killed the Kraken. Like he's wielded all of these amazing weapons and stuff. And then it's like you got to the God of War and you had, what was it? Was it Baldur? Like any character rather, like any character that just talks down like he's like nobody. It's just like, do you know what this guy's fucking done? No, do not mess with this guy. Like, or at least like I would just be like, listen, man, I know what you're capable of. I know what you're gonna do. All I can ask is like if you come across whatever items across your quest, I will trade with you. Otherwise, just like I'm not gonna fuck with you. I'm not gonna backstab or betray you. I have items for sale. I'm gonna give you the fair price. Please don't kill me, Mr. Kratos. I know what you're capable of. I'm not gonna be one of those dudes who talks around for and gets fodderized. I would never want to be one of those characters. That's like one of the worst characters because like imagine being a character that the fans are happy to see get dumpster destroyed, like you just get wrecked. The game is WoW really 90 gigabytes for real? Holy shit. Jeez. But like nobody wants to be that character where it's like people are happy to see you get trashed. Your literal existence is known for being a fodder, like a measuring stick for being a douchebag. Nobody likes those guys. Those are the worst people to exist in a story. So just be like, if you know a character's reputation, you know what they're capable of, you should probably be like, listen, I'm not gonna fuck around too much with which parts are true or not. I'm just gonna keep my distance, and if we got a problem, we can talk it out. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. But like whenever you get those characters, like whenever you get like a character that just is really rude for no reason and disrespectful to a character, it's kind of like another example. It's like how it felt like with early Boruto, where it's like when Boruto would act like Naruto hasn't, he's just like, oh, he just doesn't have, he's never gone through anything, or he just doesn't understand. It's like, do you know what this dude did when he was your age? And I think that's one of the easy reasons people hated Boruto early, but I think that was the point. Is it was because people know it's not like you are, some random character in the village who knows a degree of Naruto's story. Obviously, the readers, we know it in depth. So you're able to connect more with the story. And so it comes off more disrespectful to somebody who's read and more invested in, obviously, Naruto as a character for his son to be disrespectful. Navarre's trash. She's not trash. She's just overhyped for no reason. There'll be wait, what is this? The One Piece fan disagrees with me. But the One Piece fan base is toxic about One Piece's popularity. They're not toxic about fan service or anything. Like the One Piece fandom is only toxic because of its general fandom prosperity. Like if you took out One Piece's status, obviously of its large sales and whatnot, they don't have much others that they would really be much of a problem. Like it's pretty much just the elitists for the most part. You don't really hear that much about like problems from like the One Piece fandom, like outside of like infighting rather. Because obviously there's infighting in every fandom, but that's just gonna happen. You have different standpoints on like characters and events and theories and whatnot. Thinking about the Virgo Aquarius Stardust, I think should be able to make big whirlpools of the Earth. That'd be really cool too. That and Oscar's Wrath, both awesome games. Yeah, I've always wanted to play that. I've always thought about it. What characters do you haven't appeared and barely appeared on Quest hope to show up? I'm still waiting for Jalal. I'm still freaking waiting for Jalal to come up and do stuff. I'm waiting for Guildarts. Guildarts, Sting Rogue, and Jalal are like the prime four that I would like to show up. Like I've been talking about this for like a year. Like it has to be longer than that actually. I wonder when I started really kind of like that being my four, because I did a video on it. That's why I don't like Zero to Hero MCs. Half the stories getting getting trashed. I don't think half the stories, like I don't know I don't know which one is like half of it is them getting trashed. I'm trying to think of what character like just gets destroyed all the time, comes from nothing and rises up. Because Naruto didn't lose all the time. Asta's not getting beat up and losing all the time. Least favorite type characters are of main characters are ones who work really hard with the power they have, but the author makes it so they are chosen one. I mean, if I was gonna have a main character thing, I think it'd just be main characters who are boring. Like, I don't mind if there's like something like that, or if like they have some accident that got a power. It's whether or not I think that they're interesting. If they're boring, then I just don't care. There's definitely chill down chapters after this arc, seeing Diablos, and then what would be interesting. Although also I think that they need to interrogate Sai. I think Sai being interrogated needs to happen, because I don't think it's something that can just be brushed over unless Gajo just leaves him. But I feel like Gajo's gonna take him. Why would he not? Gajo has a history of arresting people. What are Natsu's form will look like when he eventually achieves that dragon demon status, or demon dragon? What would it be? It would be fire dragon demon or fire demon dragon. It has to be fire dragon demon, because the demon would have happened before the dragon and before fire, in theory. Were there bribes to take you to accept them? I'm talking about in general. I mean, mostly I take I mostly take money bribes, I guess, because I don't have anything like, what is it? I know some people do that Amazon wish list setup. I don't have that or anything. I don't do that, and you're already a member. I mean, you don't have to bribe me. I tell you all the time, Kamano. Anytime you want to donate, that is up to you. You use your money and you want to, my guy. You don't have to donate or anything if you don't want to. If you don't have any money, or if you just don't feel like it, pretty much. It's all just extra to me, pretty much, and I appreciate it. If you feel like donating, donate. If you don't feel like donating, you don't gotta. I'm trying to think of what other like things I guess would be really. I can't think of anything that'd be really that kind of crazy for like bribe. Because I don't have anything else set up, I think, or like have anything already existent. Up to my knowledge, I'd rather just kind of keep it to where it's at. Much easier this way. We need to waterboard Sai. Yeah, just what are they? You're gonna. I guess Celine could just teleport him somewhere with a lot of water. Luffy and Joy Boy. He's the embodiment of Joy Boy. I feel like Joy Boy is a title that goes to the whoever unlocks the awakening of the Nika Nika fruit. Fan art. I wish fan art is like a general goal one day. Because like my goal, like here, let me give you like a huge channel goal that one day I would love to reach, is the idea of like, when like people like either on stream or like general uploads to play through a game, and like a fan will, I'm just say a viewer, I don't like saying fan, a viewer will do like a fan art of something that is involved in their playthrough. Like it has to, like, if they play through Pokemon, it has the ones they're using. If they're playing through like Dark Souls, it has their armor set they're using, or like a fight that they struggled on specifically, and something like that. That's something that I always really like the idea of, because it's just a really neat to capture like a moment. Not in full, but it's I guess more of like, it's like art from the cap from what, because I guess the video would be that. And I'm thinking also, let me get your guys' opinion really quick, because I'm gonna look into setting up my capture card probably this weekend. I'm just gonna plug it in and start trying to see how I need to do stuff with it, and then I'll hook my Switch and stuff up, and then I'll try Arceus, because I think what I need to do instead of streaming it is I think I'll record it, and then I'll just do like this, because I was thinking about it, and it's like I don't want to stream as much, but I want there to be as like, I want to stream a little bit more than I was for a while, because I was like barely streaming at all. I want to do like a decent amount of a fair amount of streaming, I'll say, and then I want to do like, one day I just play, say like Pokemon Arceus for 3 hours. I cut that up into like, I chop into 2 videos or something, and then upload it. What I do is like, I'll do like members first. Well, no, because the game videos will be just for members. But like, do it like that instead of streaming it. That way it can be easier for people to get to, instead of it being from a stream. Because that way it won't feel like for some people missing it. and they're already joining, so it's like I don't really want to do a stream and it's like super chats or anything like that, like furthers. At least to start, like I won't do streams additional. Maybe further down the line when I, if it gets some progress. My favorite video game, there's a couple that I'd pick. I really like World of Warcraft. That hasn't been in a good spot lately. The Souls series is definitely up there. Kingdom Hearts. What are like some of my top favorites like that? Hollow Knight is definitely one of the ones that really shot up out of nowhere for me. I don't know what you're writing there, Hefe. So imagine if Sai uses power on Jalal. The thing is, like, most of the people in the guild, it's gonna go poorly for Sai. And it's like, for his power, once you get to a certain threshold of, once you get to a certain threshold of power levels, Sai's ability is probably gonna turn whoever he uses it on into another powerful person, because there's a good likely chance that some powerful character is gonna be intermingling with another powerful character. It doesn't have to. But it's a strong potential that they're going to be around another powerful character to where they will either fall in love or they have a rival with another one. Denji being the main protagonist for part 2 would be good. I'm excited to see what Denji's gonna have going on. My boyfriend hates the new WoW updates. Has he seen this stuff for Dragonflight? Because the current expansion just was like Shadowlands. I had a lot of hype for because it looked really interesting and I really liked the concept, but it just seemed kind of like. It just seemed like they just dropped the ball in a lot of places for I don't know what reasons. Well, I know a lot of what was going on at the company, but like, I don't know. I feel like they could have put out, like I feel like there were a lot of times where they easily could have put out more content, but I think it's because they were working on Dragonflight, similar to what happened with Warlords of Draenor and Falling Up with Legion. So I'm really hoping that this next expansion is going to be similar to Legion and be a really good kind of return to a lot of quality with the game. And a lot of the stuff that I've seen has been really good, so I'm hoping so. Sam Jace, how's it going? Oh, it's Greek. I was looking at it. I was like trying to figure out. Like I've started to mess with Russian, so like Russian lettering and stuff I can dabble with, but I was like looking at this really confused. For example, it's not a real request. I'd read or watch any series. Oh, sure. What kind of video do you want? I'd say just read Toriko, because I was like thinking bribes. I was like, what are you trying to throw at me now? Because I was like so confused. I was like, is he gonna like try and buy me a fridge or something? Kenmano is a wild guy, so I never know what you're gonna pull up with. Yeah, so just read. I'd say just read. I'd say probably just read Toriko, and I still plan on doing the villain stream. I just haven't got a folder ready for it, because I wanna really spread out like the characters and have like a pretty good villain one. Because I don't want to do just a villain per series. I want to do like. For each series, I want to do like the couple big ones, couple known ones, and then maybe some funny ones, or at least some good, well-known ones. Thoughts on Fortnite's miss your reviews? I'll probably get I don't know if I'll get back to them, because it's like I don't know enough about Fortnite's I think to really give a good enough or enough about Seven Deadly Sins and Fortnite's combined, like as a collective verse, to really know about it. So that's why I was like, I'd rather just watch Quan's videos, because I think Quan's the one that's like probably the go-to for that. So I'd rather just kind of like support his videos, which I would definitely say if you haven't, go check out his Fortnite stuff. Hope I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing all right. But like, if you want to ask me about Fortnite stuff at any streams, go ahead. I still read it. I'm still up on the manga. I like what's going on. Personally, I think that Shonen Magazine is poised up in the next couple of years to retake a larger position over Shonen Jump, because Shonen Jump, once One Piece ends, they're gonna really lose their biggest float, and then if they don't have a couple big series prepped up before then, they're gonna be in some really dangerous areas. Whereas, well, they, at least to my knowledge, they still have the lady who did Magi and Orient. They could potentially regain Okubo if he ever decides to kind of do like some other manga in the future, if he ever wants to be like Kubo and just come back with some stuff. I assume if they'll have Mishima, they're gonna probably have Nakaba, the guy who's doing Gachikuta. I assume that series will still be going on in a couple of years. It seems to be picked up a lot of popularity in Japan. I'm like 2 chapters behind. I gotta get caught up. I don't like the way Nami treats Zeus sometimes. Yeah, me neither. I feel bad for him. Who do you think would win, Lucy or Nami? Oh, Lucy claps. Lucy claps easy. Like I honestly don't think Lucy really has to even do Stardress mix. I think legitimately Lucy should just have to do like Stardress, Stardress Taurus, and then just slap her out. Because like she should be physically strong enough, durable enough to just pretty much go up and melee attack her and just bombard her right from there if she wanted to. Or she can do any of her other abilities. Like Lucy is a way more intelligent fighter. She's got more to use. She's got more dangerous abilities. Gotchi Yakuta is written by a woman. Really? Or Howard? I think it's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I know that like there's a large majority actually of women who write a manga, but I know that there's not as many women who write battle manga. And I think this has been a cool series so far, so I'm excited to see where it goes. And again, Gray, Gajil, Scully, and Madmal have been done pretty dirty this arc. No, hang on, time out. Flag on the play. I'm going to flag on the play on you on that one. I got a flag on the play. Scullion and Madmal, unfortunately, yes. Gray, I think it's going to depend. Like, Gray's moment is something I think we need to wait on because it's going to depend if Mishima is actually using this as, like, a stepstone for something later. Is this a chapter that is going to be, is it a seed to blossom later, or is it just, like, was it just nothing? And then with Gajil, you cannot overlook the fact Gajil completed his mission. He did the primary thing that he set out to do. So that was a W. He didn't beat God Serena, but God Serena was sent there for the Dogra core. He did not get the Dogra core because Gajil stole it. And Gajil's job was to destroy it. Gajil destroyed it. Gajil won that. Gajil got the mission done. A character's Here's the thing I'm going to say. This is something that you should know. I do not value a character based on fights. I value a character based off of like what they bring to the table and how they're implementing these things. A character like Hibiki, who's pretty much all intel and utility and support. He does a great job of it. He doesn't have to fight and beat one person. He could be beaten by random, barely able to get a name fodder, and who cares? Because what he's good at, what he does, he can do. Same thing with like any support characters. Warren is actually pretty good at what he does. Max, rather. Oh, am I getting my names? No, it is Warren. I'm getting my dudes mixed up. Max Sandu. How am I messing up Max? I'm like one of the only people who actually like Max and don't troll on him. Patreon. The thing is, I don't plan on doing Patreon. I'm just gonna keep it with the YouTube membership request or whatever. Okay, that's a good idea. I could do that. You know what, Kinmano? I will add that to I'll add a tier. I'll add a thing where it's like you can request a video idea a month, and it'll be like a back and forth to see, obviously, of like, it's like obviously so you don't be like, I want a video on who's fucking who, and be like, okay, we got to rephrase that and resituate it. We got to make sure it fits into a presentable frame. But it's a good start. But we could do something like that. I'll put up one right after the stream. We'll put it like a $5 tier or something. I'll add a brand new tier. Ichiya saved the world. Ichi's a Chad. I've been saying that for a while. Soldiers and Estarossa were the best Seventy Sins villains for me. Estarossa could have been the best for sure. I was really sad about that. Codebreaker and Samurai Deeper Kyo were both written by the same author. She's female. Also both battle shonen. Well, it's like, yeah, but I'm saying is like, that there are ones that have existed, but it's like, what are the numbers every time a new battle shonen shows up? What are, like, how often are they women? Like, how often do you get new ones, I think, rather, is the thing. Because the ones that really that you know about are the ones that made it. So it's like, how often do you really get the ones that, like, enter the battle shonen area and don't make it? Because even the ones that you're mentioning, it's like you mentioned the very big ones. You mentioned, like, Full Metal, D. Gray Man. These two series that you just mentioned. Let me see. Well, I don't want to miss what I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about, Gajil. Yeah, Gajil getting his mission done is a factual W. What Gajil's main thing, what he needed to get done, and he even said, I don't care about that. He had a mission to get done. That his guild, that he was put on a task on for association with the guild, he needed to get it done for the guild, and he got it done. That's a big W for Gajil. I said the same thing with Nibaru. I said the same thing with Kiria. They got the mission done, regardless of what fights they win beyond that point, what their primary thing they needed to get done, and I said about Kyoka too. But the primary thing that they need to get done, they got done. They accomplished it. The value of that was not based on who beat the other character up. It was who completed the mission, because the mission was what was their primary thing. Godjill needs a motherfucking power. I agree. Well, I think that's what's going to happen with Viernes. I think it's going to happen when we get there. That's on the units rating in this chapter. I thought it was really cool. I wish it had a cooler name, but it's like, it didn't, like, Natsu's in base, and it was literally just Natsu just cladding fire onto it and rushing forward. But obviously, there was a unison raid, so there was just a general increase in power. But I liked it a lot. I thought it looked really cool. I really want to see the effects next chapter. I'm really hoping Dogramag isn't done. That'll actually make me really bummed out. Because like, if the arc can end with a really good fight, I can probably give it like a 9 for, like, because it's like, it's not a long arc, it's pretty to the point. You get some pretty cool and interesting stuff. God's Serena coming back was one of the most interesting, random, and unforeseen things, I think, because, like, I know there were always the ideas for, like, characters to come back, but, like, I feel like the idea of God's Serena coming back in an Alchemist Guild, now of all times, was completely unforeseen. Getting Dragon Force. Well, I think that's what Godjill will get. Godjill, you know, worry about his Dragon God shit. His pregnant wife to take care of. Well, he's over here right now, and she's sailing back to the guild. And it's not like she's, like, 9 months pregnant. She's, like, I don't know what, is it 3? Is it 3 months is when the bump generally starts? I think it's, like, 12 weeks or so. I'm not a master of pregnancy, so I don't know. I don't have a doctorate in the matter. I was gonna say, so I messed up. I should have said I don't have max stats in the matter. So that would have been way funnier, at least to me, I guess. I wish it was something like, yeah, if it was like Fire Dragon Vermilion Slash or something. Just a little added flair, to it. But I'm not mad at it because it was pretty to the point. It wasn't like, if it was Suzaku, I would say, like, yeah, it should have definitely gotten way more flair. Natsu not adding anything crazy to it, I'm fine with. I don't think that needed to happen. I wish it did. But maybe, like, that's something that's just, like, it's not the focus right now. And that's one of the things as well, is I'm hoping the fight doesn't end there with, like, an attack that just didn't have a crazy name. Because it's just what, Fire Dragon Slash. It's not like, was it Fire Dragon King Slash or just Fire Dragon Slash? I'm going to go back really quick and check on it. Let me see. I think it's just, yeah, it's just Fire Dragon Slash. It's nothing crazy. Obviously, like, it should be, considering, unless it's the fan translation. Let me, where's my phone at? Oh, my phone's charging, fuck. I'll check later. Could Godjill eat gold? Yes, he should be able to eat gold, 100%. I absolutely believe Godjill can eat gold. There should have been, oh, whatever, this one. Godjill Step got it overprotective even in the early stages. Yeah, he wasn't even, like, he didn't even care at that point what happened. Just the general potential of the idea of Levy's pregnant body being damaged in any way immediately sent him over the edge. It immediately just pissed him the fuck off, and he just smashed this dude's face down with a big set of iron. Because why wouldn't he? Because when Godjill gets really deep down into his bag, he gets more into that kind of, it in terms of, like, his more rooted just Godjill. Not like, oh yeah, Levy's involved or something. Just Godjill. Just into Godjill who he is. He does pull out a little bit of that scary villain vibe, and I think that when you have something like Levy and the idea, obviously, of their unborn children, that probably immediately just spikes in him to that aggression, and then he just wants to smash this dude down. I think Haku got more than plushy magic in his arsenal. Yeah, I think that that's just his general go-to, because he doesn't seem naturally aggressive. I would love to see Haku in a situation where he's going to actually be serious to fight somebody. I would love to just to see, like, an attack. Maybe in the next time we see them, like, the idea of the skirmishes, it's like Wendy and him fight, but Wendy's like, I want you to actually fight me seriously. And he's like, he doesn't try and turn her into a plushie because he knows it doesn't work unless he tries to do it momentarily for, like, a distraction. But I would prefer it if we had it to where Wendy, similar to, like, when he was she fought Shelly, where he's just like, listen, I want you to actually fight me. I want you to fight me. You're only gonna upset me if you don't fight me, kind of thing. and then we get a proper clash between the two of them. Some more Haku. Yeah, Haku. I think Mishima will definitely give us some more Haku if we're gonna get more of Diablos. Also, Rekka 7. Oh, I've already watched Rekka 7. I already know about the subcoral. The thing is, I just don't remember anything about the subcoral as a specific being. I'll go you know what? I will rewatch Rekka 7 specifically with you in mind. This rewatch. I'm gonna rewatch it, and right when I press play on episode 1, I'm gonna say this is for Kenmano. And I'm going to aggressively watch. I'm not going to blink. I'm going to gain a power. It's going to be like, I'm going to unlock my ocular ability. They're going to say, what is your superpower? When I'm determined, I don't blink. That's it. I'd probably get one of those shitty superpowers like that. But I mean, that's better than like I guess like if I was in My Hero and that was what my superpower, I wouldn't be that mad because it's like, I got a shitty superpower, but it's like I could probably do some neat novelty things with it. Whereas, like, who wants to have a Lego for a head or like a stop sign or something stupid? You think Gajil thought kids came from eggs as well? No, Gajil's smarter than Natsu is. Gajil is much smarter than Natsu is. Like, it's not even like Natsu is like close to like Naruto, whereas Gajil is like, I guess like because that's like not. Natsu isn't as dumb as Goku, but Gajil, I think, is generally as intelligent as Vegeta. Not gonna count like Vegeta's knowledge of spaceships just because he lived in a spaceship. I don't. That's like saying like I bet he doesn't know how to use magic tools or some shit. But like in terms of general intelligence, because Gajil isn't dumb. Gajil's never been depicted as dumb. He's not the smartest guy, but he's not the dumbest guy. He's not even really the dumb guy in the room. I don't think there's ever been a point where he's really been the dumb guy in the room either. Hanging out with guild lords too much has influenced him. Maybe a little bit. Imagine you have a superpower, make your dick half an inch longer, and that's it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good power in terms of the worst powers you can have, because that's like at the worst you have a slight quality of life increase. You essentially have a power up mode in case you're not enough for some chick. You meet some girl, maybe she's a little bit more experienced and it's not enough, and then it's like you're like, okay, well I gotta show you my full power now and use my final form and just bam, unlock it. You think Undine from Black Clover was inspired by Aquarius? No, so they're just both in the origin inspired from the what is it? Is it Undine, I think, or is it Nymph Water Spirit? I think. Because in the one shot, the leader of the water people, I think it was the water tribe, I don't remember if they had a specific, or water kingdom or whatever, was named Undine, and then she was pretty much Aquarius. And then it was like the king of the Fire Nation was Fire Kingdom was named Silver, or no, his name was Salamander, and his son, the main character, was named Silver. I think we're gonna get another war in Heroes Quest. I would hope so. It's going to depend on what's going on, I think, with Igni and Dogramag, whatever Igni's plan is. I'm asking for Subcoral versus Anti-Spiral. I'm just asking you to talk about Subcoral and some of its feeds. Okay, well, once I finish rewatching it, I will 100% do some video talking about it. Kieran Hawker are the only Diablos members to crush on Freytal members, Alexis and Wendy. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I think Nibaru will turn. I hope so. I like him. I thought he was funny, but also I would like to see like what he would do in return. Like I've really just envisioned this Gollum-like idea where he's just following them around. Because like imagine editing that with, or if they did it in the anime, which would be amazing. Just it took full piss on it. But like, imagine you're like watching the scene. Just like imagine the the Fairy Tail members and the crew. They're like doing whatever. They're having whatever back and forth, and they're like, all right, let's get back on the road. And they start moving, and it starts kind of paneling back to where they they've got they're just walking. There's no words, and then the camera starts to change where it gets a little grayer and it gets a little more kind of like that old style filmy, and you hear the Lord of the Rings like na 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 na, and you see freaking Nibiru crawling out from behind a rock like freaking Gollum. I think that would be amazing. That would be so funny to me. Cause like I like when I don't think there's been any I don't think there's been any mangaka that's overdone any real meme references to my knowledge. Like I know the one that I know the most. I know Isayama did a lot with an Attack on Titan, but he hid them a lot. And you wouldn't know everyone from one show. Like, I know he has, like, multiple people that were actors in Game of Thrones. He's got Saul Goodman in there. There's, like, a part where he's drawn Pennywise. And, like, a lot of just general memes and stuff. Like, I've seen the picture comparisons and whatnot. And some of them are very obvious that it's, like, a straight, like, inspiration off it, which isn't a bad thing. But when they get too much, it's a problem. But, I can't think of Mishima doing too many memes or anything, but I would love it if they did something like that. They just did this complete like little joke off of Lord of the Rings. Noelle versus Yamato. Oh, Yamato fucking smacks her once. Yamato smacks Noelle one time. Do you remember when Sasuke got hit out of the Susanoo? It'd literally be like she would swing her Kanabo and you would just see Noelle out of her clothes, and it would just see like the shape of her Valkyrie dress in the air for a minute before it just fell to the ground and she fell unconscious, like from one hit. Like, Yamato would just smack her. I keep like half reading words and then trying to combine them. Natsu and Lucy need to do unison right. I agree. I 100% agree. Wait for Wendy to get another power up. The thing is, like, I don't think Wendy needs another power up. I think Wendy just needs to Wendy needs to get to that point where she can just fast enchant. And it's not even like doing like, oh, I'm doing specific buffs. Like, imagine she's fighting somebody, like, she's getting prepped up for the fight, and she's like, oh, right before the fight, or mid-conversation, I enchanted your shoes to have a clinging property to the floor, and then, bam, charges up a roar, hits somebody or something, and then, enchants their clothing to then, when we start, like, explode or something. Does some cool stuff like that where she's just chain doing enchants and doing it in just different ways to show the utility in different ways that she can really expand her magic out. It's another waste on Heroes Quest, then wait. Heroes Quest, Diablo's team up, definitely team. Wait, if it's another Wast, what are you reading right now? Wast? Hero does a third series, if Hero does a third series, you might stop writing 100 Years Quest. Well, he's not going to do another series at the same time. He's prepping up for another series after Eden Zero. Like, Eden Zero is already pretty far into its series. We know about Ziggy now. The only, like, big mysteries left are what? We have Mother, the Chronophage, and if he wants to do stuff with the Heavenly Knights. Where do you get your computer from? I got mine off online. I don't even remember the website. Like, I got mine like 2016, I think. Pretty sure. No, I got it in 2017. 'Cause I got it a chunk after deployment. He was doing a lot of video game writing 100 Years Quest, Eden Zero on YouTube channel. I know, he's a Chad. Now after One Piece or Naruto one. Oh, that's true. I assume, the Naruto one has the elemental advantage. ECM wrote a final volume while on stroke. But he has a stroke? I don't remember that. I don't remember getting sick. What happened to Bud and Iron Nancy? I don't happen to either of them. I was thinking about messaging Bud because I haven't heard about anything from him in a while. And then Iron Nancy, I don't know. I could probably message him too. Anyway, I'm probably going to end it here. I'm going to probably go watch the Jujutsu Kaisen movie. Actually, let me see, how long is it? Because it's only like, what, a volume long. So it's probably, I'm hoping it's under an hour and a half. Jujutsu Kaisen movie length. Let me find out real quick. Hour 45? That's not so bad. I'll finish up here. I'll finish uploading the chapter review, and then after that, I'll set up that tier for member video suggestions, Kinmano. I'll put it as like a $5 tier. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. The plan is I'm gonna put out a video for Natsu and Jalal probably between now and what's tomorrow, Wednesday. I'll probably put it out Friday, and then Saturday or Sunday I'm gonna put out an Igneel video. And then maybe I'll do my 100 Years Quest predictions for the next chapter, maybe like on Monday or something.